In this video, we're going to take a look at method output. Let's begin with an introduction to method output. So this has to do with the outcome of calling a method. What's the outcome of calling a method? Sometimes a message is printed to the console, right? Like hello world, and when you do console write line. Sometimes a value is returned, okay? So this would return 15. Sometimes a variable is altered, okay, in this case. So what are we trying to accomplish in this lesson? Well, we're trying to define methods with output using the return and out keywords. We want to recognize and resolve errors related to the method output. So the basic way to return values from a method is to use a return statement. This code contains a definition of the yell method. There you go. Which returns a string, right? And in it, it calls that method in main. Here we have main, and it calls that method right here. So when we execute this program, the code in main runs first. Where's main? Over here. So this code runs first, the code in main. So there we go. So that's what's going to run. Okay, so then yell is going to be called first, right? So it's going to call yell. Where's yell? Over here. So yell is going to be called. And in yell, the uppercase version of who's there is created and returned. Okay, that goes in there. So this is going to turn to the uppercase. Okay, so back in main, that returned value is then stored in the variable output. Okay, so that value is stored in this variable here, output. And then output is then printed to the console. And it prints who's there in uppercase. So the keyword return tells the computer to exit the method, okay, exit the method and return a value. So exit this method here and return the value to wherever the method is being called, which was being called in main, right? So when the method is declared, it must announce the type of value it will return. Okay, so in this case, yell returns a string, right? So it has the string modifier right before the name yell. Okay, it's going to return a string, so it must have the string modifier right there. So the first line of the method is called a method declaration right here. So we can say that the method declaration must contain the type of the return value, okay, which is string in this case. The method declaration is a combination of details including the access modifiers, which are like static, okay, and so on. But this lesson is not going to cover the access modifiers, so we'll worry about that in later lessons. It should also have the return type, okay, which is string, the method name, which is yell, and the parameter types. Okay, so here this lesson is going to focus on the return type, which is this. So remember, you must contain the type of the return value. The method definition must contain the type of the return value. If the method returns an integer, then its return type must be integer. If it's text, then the return type must be string. If it's nothing at all, then use void. If a method returns a different type than its stated return type, then it's going to throw an error. So this error means that you must state a return type before the method name. If you see something like this, methods must have a return type. So state a return type before the method name. Okay, so another common error is this: not all code paths return a value. What this means is that your method is not returning a value when it should. Okay, if you see can't implicitly convert type string into integer or something like that, this means that your method returns a string when it should be an integer. Okay, so this can be caused by a number of different things. All right, now you're ready to do activity 4, so please pause this video and complete activity 4, submit it, and then come back to watching the video. So a method can only return one value, but sometimes you need to output two pieces of information. For example, in this method here, integer try parse method tries to parse its input as an integer. If it can, it's going to return true, okay, and set a specific variable to the new value. If it cannot, then it's going to return false and set specific variable to null. Okay, so this method returns a Boolean and accepts a string and integer variable as input. Okay, so let's take a look. So bool success equals integer try parse. So you have this number here and then out number. So the number is 10602 and success is true. Okay, and here in this other case, you have the method called here, and here we have in the string exclamation points and out number 2. So number 2 is going to be null because success 2 here is going to be false. So the second parameter is labeled out, which means it must be assigned a value within the method. Okay, you can declare the integer variable within the method call. So here we have success. The bool is a data type. Success is a variable, and we're calling this method here. Okay, 10602 out integer number. Okay, so you can declare the integer within the method call. So right here. Okay, so now you're ready to do activity 5. So please pause the video. When you're ready, please come back and then continue watching the video. So we can use out parameters in our own methods as well. In this example, the yell method converts the phrase to uppercase and sets a Boolean variable to true. Okay, so here we have the declaration. The return type is string, and yell is the method name, and inside of it we have two parameters, the phrase and was yell called. Okay, and the data type for phrase is string, and this is the out parameter, and the data type is Boolean. Okay, so was yell called is the parameter, and we're assigning the value true, so it's true. And then it's going to return the phrase to upper, so it's going to turn this phrase to upper. Okay, so the out parameter, note that the out parameter must have the out keyword and its expected type. The out parameter must be set to a value before the method ends. Okay, so the parameter must be set to a value, and we've done that here. So when calling the method, don't forget to use the out keyword as well. Okay, so here we have the message. Okay, this is just a variable called message, and it's GR. So here we're going to call the method yell. Okay, message is the argument, and then flag, okay, is the second argument, and we still have to add out and Boolean. So this is going to return gar, okay, and it's going to return that flag is true. So these are some of the common errors. Okay, the out parameter success must be assigned before control leaves the current method. So this could mean that the out parameter needs to be assigned a value within the method. So don't forget to assign a value to your out parameter. If you get an error message like argument 2 must be passed with the out keyword, this means that you called a method that expects an out parameter. Okay, so when you called a method that expects an out parameter, but you didn't use the out keyword when calling it. So make sure you use the out keyword when calling it. All right, so this brings us to the end of our PowerPoint video lectures for today. You're now ready to do the quiz. So please attempt your quiz. It is 60 minutes long. I think it was about 13 questions. Once you start, you cannot quit. So please make sure you have time to do the whole quiz before you get started, and make sure that you understand the material well before you get started. Okay, it doesn't hurt to have Visual Studio open so that you can test out things as you're completing your quiz.